Okay. It is Tuesday, 2:03 p.m. here on the west coast of the United States of America. I hope that you are having a good day. It's kind of warm here. It's not bad. But in my office, it's a bit warmer than, I guess, your average home. That is because we can't have any air conditioner running in the background. So, Men of the Winter said, I love you, man. I love you too. I appreciate that. Thank you. I don't know why, but do you know me personally? You know, it's always weird when you see people's like handles and then they end up being like someone that you know very well. Go ahead and hit that like button because it helps. I will drop the call-in link, and you guys are more than welcome to call in, because the guest I was going to have is going to come on next Tuesday. So that's the link. I hope you guys call in and we have some fun conversations, by the way. Make it easy on me, guys. Make it easy. When people call in, it's always a lot easier. Hey, brother, do you know anything about the Targum? Like the videos already, dude. Think, Skye Apologetics. No, I can't say I'm like an expert on the Targum or anything like that. But I have it in my Bible software. If we need to pull it up, if you have a question specifically to or about the Targum, we can pull it up and look at it. If there's a section, yeah. I think I might need new glasses. Always have a hard time with frames, man. It's like they're fine, they work, but I guess I abuse my glasses quite a bit. Always throwing it around here and there and doing activities with them, and they fall. I got kids. So yeah. Mike said, what is your ideal conversation topic? It really depends on my mood, Mike. Dude, I'm talkative and I got opinions about almost every single thing under the sun. So, yeah, I don't know. It really, really depends on my mood. And I think that's pretty obvious when it comes to, Mike, you've been, we've had conversations and you've been in these streams quite a bit to know, like, sometimes I'm just, hey, let's just shoot the breeze and let's talk soccer. And sometimes it's like, let's get into the depths of some of this stuff. So it's I'm telling you, what you see is what you get. That's how I am when I'm hanging out with my friends. We talk about anything and everything. Just a belief about different persons. Just kind of heard of it recently. Just what do you mean? The belief about different persons. Mike, my mood is wide open. You call in and you want to talk about it, whatever. You'll see how it goes. I don't know. There isn't something that's like really pressing on my heart and mind that I would say, yeah, here's like something I've been thinking about. Haven't done much reading this morning, so it's sort of empty. By the way, we're at 4401. There's some people that were like unsubscribing and resubscribing yesterday. It was weird. It kept jumping up and down. hilarious. What's up, Jerome? How you doing? It is 10 p.m. Chilling at home. Just clicked no on the poll and ready and waiting for the Fight Club. Hey, did you see the Manchester City fans celebrating their treble? It was such a sad scene. Gotta have a fan base. You can't buy fans. Real ones, at least. To all my city folk. I don't think I've ever eaten on this stream. Keanu, what's going on, man? Apparently it says stuff about the Son of God and things along those lines. I'm going to pretend you didn't just say soccer. Sorry, man. It's for my American fan base. If I was just talking to Jerome, we'd just say football and it would be fine. Nobody would have an issue. But, leave them alone. No way am I going to leave them alone. They want to treble and they're celebrating it. Like, I saw a video where like the game ended and it said, I've seen fans celebrate corners better than this. It's true. It's true. You don't deserve it. It's so frustrating. I'm being a bit of a sore loser right now, guys. Liverpool had a chance for a quadruple last year, and who did we end up? Right, and how did that end? Lose by 1 point or whatever the heck it was again. And lose the Champions League final to Real Madrid. Fluke random mistake goal. I got an important email, guys. Sorry for the chewing. Just got some very exciting news that I can't share just yet. Oh, man, that's cool. Woo! So many books. That's right, man. That's what it takes. Oh, man. This had to happen live. You guys go interact with each other. This is fun. Hang on. Sorry, Jake. I'm multitasking, and as you can tell, I'm trying to do best. I found some secret information. No, it is not. Well, it's secret to me and a couple of my friends. But I will announce it once I get like all the confirmations. Okay, you guys will know. Top secret. There you go. Top secret. It's like 6 people know about this. Hey, be nice. Be nice. Be nice, Keanu. We haven't blocked anyone, by the way. If anybody claims we've blocked them, we haven't. Okay, let me pay attention to you guys. Hey, I think there's a couple of things in regards to these 2 persons in heaven or 2 beings in heaven. Language, I just can't confirm whether that's in the Targum or not. Again, not the expert on it, but I think there is lingo like that. Again, if you think there's anything that we can pull up and read, I'll pull it up and we'll look at it. Said, I think the word you're looking for is salty. No, I'm just a sore loser. I'm a very, very sore loser. Off topic. There is no topic, bro. Do you have any advice for starting a YouTube channel? Yes, I have a lot of advice for starting a YouTube channel. You want to call me? We'll talk about it. Like, seriously, if you want to use the link and call me right now, I will live tell you what it takes to get a YouTube channel off the ground. And I can give you some resources in regards to helping you with that. Skye Apologetics, just let me know. I'm a non-footballist. That means I deny the existence of any sport named football. Has Radioactive Trees been back since your talk with him? Well, I haven't been around. Remember, I spoke to Radioactive Trees on Friday, and then I didn't stream Saturday, Sunday, and I was gone Monday, and I did a stream on Friday night, and I did a stream yesterday. So after our conversations, I've done 2 streams. Let's not be mean. Twitch comments, so many books. What are you doing in live? Usually, what we do is we have a live Q&A. By the way, I'm streaming on YouTube and Twitch. Folks should know that. And on Tuesdays, we have people call in live. The link is on our YouTube stream. So you got to go to the YouTube stream for that. So give me a second. Okay, Skye, what's going on?
Oh, sorry. I didn't know you could hear me. I thought I was kind of in like the gulag or whatever.
No, I can hear you now. I couldn't hear you before that.
Oh, okay. I don't think you can see me, but it's
nope,
dark in my room.
But I can hear your voice very clear. It's okay. More important. Here's some advice on YouTube. Audio is more important than video.
Okay.
So if you're going to invest, let's say you have a limited amount of money, right? Let's just say you have $200. It would be much better for you to buy a really good mic versus a really good camera. Okay, so I would invest in the mic and then use your phone to stream or something.
Do you use a professional camera, or do you use what do you use?
So I have a Canon M50, which is like on the lower end of cameras. So it's around $700.
Wow.
I do have a lens that's a pretty hefty lens. It actually costs more than the camera, but it's actually not my lens. One of my friends is gracious enough to lend it to me because he has no need for it at the time being. So I've been using his lens till we buy our own.
Wow.
It's really good having good friends.
Yeah, I wouldn't know anything about that.
No, that's not good. Don't say that. Do
I'm just
not say
kidding.
that. Um, Look, yeah, man. So you want to do apologetic stuff? Is that the route you want to go in?
Yeah, that's kind of the route I wanna go in, but I gotta. There's some stuff that's a little bit blurry. Like I kind of know what I want to make, but like from your perspective, what do you think people usually want to like see or like watch?
That's that. Yeah, everything and anything. Um, yeah, that's like too broad, maybe of a question. What I would say is you should figure out what you're interested in the most and that you won't get tired of doing. Okay.
Right.
Because if you go off of what people want, you're going to be all over the place and it's going to hurt actually your audience, I think. People are going to come to your channel for one thing and then get disappointed when you switch it up on them.
Right.
By the way, this is like, I've watched like countless hours of YouTube strategy videos. I'm not just saying this from nowhere.
Yeah.
I've had conversations with folks who have really, really good YouTube channels. And there's always like weird anomalies. And it depends whether you want to do short form content, long form content. YouTube just launched their podcast thing. So podcasts are going to become more of a thing on YouTube. Like they just automatically put my interviews into a podcast and that goes through like YouTube Music or something like that. And they play it. So they're trying to compete with Spotify, I think, and Apple Podcast.
Right. Okay. I actually didn't know that.
They did lose Joe Rogan.
Oh.
So
Wow.
you gotta pay attention to some of these things that are happening, like with big money sort of stuff, and kind of jump on it. So shorts, for example, is a crazy way to get noticed and then for people to come to your channel. But it could also be dangerous in the sense that you might have a video go viral and then your channel all of a sudden has like 90,000 subscribers and you put one long form content and nobody watches it.
Yeah.
And you go, why? Well, that's because they're there for short form content. And then if that happens, you got to ask yourself a question like, do I just want to produce short form content or not? So
Right.
I wouldn't chase trends. I would say develop and create your own community that is consistent in regards to what you're providing and what you're bringing into it. And I think it becomes a bit more nuanced if you're a Christian who's doing something for ministry purposes. If you're doing it as a service to people, that's a bit different. And you should always have that in the back of your mind. Like why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah. I guess the reason would be a lot of people like whenever I was a young Christian, I didn't know all this kind of stuff. I just kind of, well, I did, but like it was really hard for me to find stuff, and and I have some friends who are Christians that don't know their faith, and if somebody was like, "Oh, what about this?" they'd be like, I don't know what to do," because like they haven't looked into these things and really explored the different reasons and the different I guess the different kinds of apologetics, different kinds of
Yeah.
discussions.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
would say just know your stuff. If you're going to do that kind of, those sorts of things, always be reading, learning, developing. It's a grind, man. I posted something on Instagram yesterday. I got a little notification on Facebook that 3 years ago, I posted, I think we were close to 100 subscribers. That's why I did that. But I think we had hit 94 subscribers. And I had posted it. And then yesterday we were at 4396 when I got that. And I was like, oh, wow, this is cool. And then so I went and did some analytics and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, 3,000 of those came in the last year.
Wow.
Which tells you kind of this compounding effect. People usually think like, oh, you're going to come up with a YouTube channel. you're going to get a video to go trending, you're going to get another one, whatever, like you're going to blow up and everybody's going to know about you. When you look at the YouTubers that have been doing this for a while and are very successful in what they're doing, and by the way, I'm not in that category, and you talk to them, and I have talked to them, it's a ridiculous amount of work. So as those guys say, and also those folks who teach you how to do YouTube well. So I would recommend you check out Think Media's YouTube channel.
Is that Mike Winger's?
No, that's Sean Cannell. He's a Christian dude, but he helps people just do YouTube. And dude, it's a phenomenal channel. Like, folks, you're watching this, you want to do podcasting, you want to do YouTube, whatever it is that you want to do, if you want to do it, check out Think Media. Just on YouTube, type in Think Media. The guy's name is Sean Cannell. He's got a team that works with him. They have more than 2 million subscribers. And like Sean's thing is just hit record. Like don't just hit record, right? But they'll even give you recommendations as to like, what do you want to do? What is like budget friendly, stuff you can buy that'll help you get going. But consistency, all of these guys say consistency is the key. Mm. So I used to be very inconsistent till the last like year and a half, where it was like, okay, I'm going to pick times. I'm going to stream at those times. I'm going to make videos. I'm going to, just you treat it like any other job, and then you work at it. If you're going to like post a video and then not post one for like a week and a half, that you're not, well, whether this is a good thing or a bad thing, and depends on the kind of where you're standing. But YouTube will not reward you. The algorithm will not reward. The algorithm rewards consistency.
Yeah, they don't like that, eh?
Think about it from a business perspective. Okay, so YouTube wants to play ads on your videos so they can make money. So if you were YouTube and you're like, I want to play ads on someone's channel so I can make money. Do I play it on the guy's channel who posts once every 2 weeks? Or do I post it on the guy's channel who's regularly using my platform, has people on my platform, has people staying on my platform? So here's a little metric that's very important. People look at views, okay? Which is probably the wrong metric to look at. I think there was a period of time where they were trying to get rid of views or something like that. But I'll give you, actually, let me read an analytics here from my last video. So yesterday's video, this was yesterday's stream. I streamed for 2 hours and 4 minutes. Okay. Now it says that we had 118 views on yesterday's video. But what's more important than this is the average view duration. So out of the 118, when you average it out, how long were people on my stream? And the average view duration was 20 minutes and 44 seconds. Which is really, really good. Okay? Because folks generally on YouTube are watching 5 to 10 minute videos. So 8-minute videos is something YouTube likes, because they can put 2 ads into an 8-minute video. But so when you look at it, you always want to look at your kind of view duration. If you have 1 million views, let's just say it's a minute-long video, and you have 1 million people watch the minute-long video, but you only got them to stay on for like 20 seconds of the video. That's not very good. But if you have a minute-long video and 1 million people watch it, and average view is like 50 seconds, you're killing it. Like the algorithm is going to like love that. It's going to push it out, because what it's telling them is, hey, people really like this video. They're staying on longer on this video than they are on other videos. So what we're going to do is we're going to push this video. It's interesting to people. And so you got to look at it from the business perspective as well. So there's channels like, so let me give you some channels that you might be familiar with. Mike Winger, you mentioned. Mike Winger does very long form content. Okay. He had a stream that was like 8 hours long, something like that. It was insane. It essentially was. But so he's able to like attract, teach, guide. He's built a community. He does it very well. He's a nice guy. People like his personality, as they should, because he is a nice guy. And then you might have someone like John McCrae. What do you mean? John typically does Christian reactions to popular culture things that are going on. He's got really good commentary. He's biblical. He addresses theology, but he just addresses general culture as well. He doesn't stream very often. He doesn't do live streams very often. He'll go on other people's streams, but it's all pre-recorded stuff. Works. So you got someone who goes live quite a bit, and that works, long-form content, and then you have someone who pre-records their stuff, and that works. That's, again, because they are providing a service and they're consistent with what they're doing. Or you might get someone like Ruslan, who does both, right? And I'd say a good amount of the stuff I do is a lot like Ruslan. So I'll do long-form stuff, and I like the conversations. What I'll do is I'll take out a section of it and then repost it as a video. So I'll have the stream up plus the whatever videos I got from that, or if I got shorts from it. You need to be planned, is what I'm trying to say. You plan, and then execute that, and then do not get discouraged, because it's very discouraging in the initial stages.
Yeah. How long did it take you to grow up to you are right now? How long have you been doing this?
So about 3 years, but I would say consistently. Let me see. I'm actually looking at the analytics here. So let's say 2022. I'm looking at my analytics for last year. Last year we had about 145,000. Okay, so that's January 1st to December 31st, 2022. We had about 45,000 views. Watch time, 7.4 thousand hours. And then we had 2,400 subscribers last year. Okay, so the main kind of movement happened last year, not 2021. But I've been doing this for 3-4 years. This year, we're in June, so that's 6 months into it, right? 6 months into it, 5 months and some change. We're about 950 subscribers in. So if we continue with the same trend, unless something does well, we'll hit about 2,000 subscribers this year. That's just a very realistic view of this. So just so folks know, if I look at it by the end of the year, so December 31st, what am I expecting? What is Arthur expecting for my channel by December 31st? Basically to have about 5,500 subscribers. I'm not sitting there and saying, oh yeah, by the way, by the end of this year, we're going to have 15,000 subscribers. Could that happen? Yeah, sure. I mean, it's the internet. I might wake up one day and it's like, oh wow, this just went insane.
Yeah.
But realistically speaking, the growth is slow. I actually don't mind the slow growth, because I've realized this, if not too slow, but if it's like a consistent slow growth, you're developing a community of people that are like your core supporters that love what you're doing, that are in your streams and all of that. And then, you'll make friends, and then you'll do, you'll collaborate with people, and some of your people will go there and their people will come to you. That happens quite a bit. I mean, we have a number of atheists in our chat and agnostic folks who saw me interacting with Pine Creek. And then they said, hey, Arthur's a Christian, but we sort of kind of like him. And we like having these conversations with someone like Arthur.
Right. And I didn't know you interacted with Pine Creek.
I did. He was on my channel. I've been on his channel. He came on my channel. And It was a really fun conversation we had about 2 weeks ago. I think he was on.
Okay.
We spoke about almost everything. Again, consistency. I'd say just the basics of equipment. Know what you can do in regards to a computer. If you need to use secondhand stuff, use second. For a long time, I was using my laptop to stream. And then as I added more things, I realized that my laptop was having a hard time. And I had a friend I have a friend who who basically had bought himself a really good laptop, and then he said to me, "Hey, I got this Mac Mini that I'm not using anymore. I don't need it. Why don't I give it to you?" And so, yeah, I mean, when people see you're doing something, especially within the Christian space, and they're like, "Hey, we like what he's doing," the monitors I'm looking at were given to me by a friend. Like a lot of the stuff in my office were actually given to me by friends.
You have some pretty good friends then, eh?
I do. I have a very good church community, man. I do. I have a very supportive church community. I have very good friends who believe in me, who invest in me in all the ways they can invest. And it's not always financial, right? Well, I should say, like, obviously these things have financial things, but sometimes people can't give you money, but they have stuff they might give you.
Yeah. Prayers help too, eh?
Huh?
I said prayers help too, eh?
Yeah. Yes. But again, I mean, when I look at that stuff, I think predominantly when we look at how God wants us to react and love one another and be with one another, I know this is like a cheesy kind of cliche sort of thing, but we're his hands and feet. And so whether that comes down to helping folks, in the trenches, in the hospitals, whatever, prisons, like Christians do all that stuff, but also in regards to ministry. So that's why I said, why do you want to do this, right? And some folks, dude, that's low helicopters. So some folks want to turn something like this into a business.
Right.
Like, again, Ruslan's very open about this, that is his job. That's what he does for a living. He's a content creator, amongst other things. And then some people view it as a ministry, like I myself. And it's not just this. My ministry goes beyond that. Speaking engagements, trainings in churches. There's an arm of this ministry that is in Armenia, and we create similar sort of stuff, but also book clubs and translations and all that stuff. And yeah, I mean, it's just that those things need to be pretty clear to those around you. And I've realized when people see that, and they appreciate that, they'll invest in you. Yeah.
With the mic, you said you got a mini. I think you said mini computer. How do you work that with a microphone? Like, does that hook up to your computer?
Yep.
How does that work?
So there's two sorts of mics that you can buy. Okay, one of them is what you're seeing in front of me, and that's an XLR cable. So this XLR cable connects to a mixer, and the mixer connects to my computer via USB-C. But that's a more complicated way of doing things. For a very long time, actually, before I got this mic, I had the Yeti Blue mic. Okay, the Yeti Blue mic is just, there's two of them, but one of them is just directly connecting into your computer via USB. So you don't need a mixer for that. It's all digital.
So basically just plug it into your computer?
You plug your USB here, and then you plug the other USB into your computer, and you're ready to go. If you want a more robust sort of things, then you go with the XLRs. You got to get a mixer. And I didn't have a mixer for a very long time.
What does the mixer do?
I can't pull my mixer to show you. So the mixer will give you multiple channels to connect into, and then you're able to control. Say you want to have more than one mic, for example. Say like if I set up, let's just say I set up a guest station for me to have like in studio guests. I can put a mic for them, and then I'll control it on my mixer. They have different feeds going into the mixer. Yeah, but if you're doing sort of what I'm doing, or you're going to pre-record it, you can actually just use one of those mics that are USB and just go straight into it.
Yeah, okay.
And the Yeti Blue is a really good mic to get started with. This guy should have one too. Let me see. Yeah, so you can do the same thing with this mic. This is the Shure It's the smaller one, not the like really robust one. This one's like $200 something. By the way,
okay.
I should say this. I have in my description box on every single one of my videos, in my description box, there is a document. I got to make sure so I don't come out a liar. Yeah. So if you go to in my description box, it'll say my equipment. And you hit that link, it'll take you to a Google Docs page where it'll just show you almost every single piece of equipment that I use.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I clicked on that. Sorry, go ahead.
Go.
I said I clicked on that earlier, and then it took me off the stream. So I thought, I'll click on it later to, because I don't want to be off the stream. But I feel like I have some more questions, but I can't think of them right now.
Yeah, man, you can email me, info@apologiacenter.com.
Sorry, what'd you say what it is?
It's info@apologiacenter.com.
Can you link that in the
I'll put it in there.
Chat? And on here, like I see it says Ecamm or Ecamm.
Ecamm.
Is that that's like
a software?
Sorry, what'd you say?
That's a software. It's essentially it's a live streaming software, or it's a video recording software. That is a subscription package. You got to pay for it, but there are other ones that are free or cheaper. It's just I really like this one. It works well with my Mac. Some other people use different ones. So even if you just do a very basic Google search or YouTube search saying softwares to use or top 5 softwares to use, then
okay, I gotcha.
Yeah. But I really like Ecamm. By the way, Ecamm is only for Macs. That's it.
Okay. In your perspective, you're talking about podcasts. Do you think podcasts are kind of blowing up right now?
Yes. One thing that's I would say be on the lookout if you're going to do a podcast. Make sure that you have access, at least very initial in the initial stages, of people that are interesting enough for you to interview or have a conversation with.
Right. I got a couple people that I'm connected with. Got some people in my that I'm connected with that I think would be really good. I just hope people would watch them.
Yeah. Again, it's going to be on the content. It's going to be on what you guys are providing people. Right. And so just because of my background and my education and the connections I've made through my education and doing ministry, there's quite a bit of people that I know that are sort of popular names within the Christian space in the United States. And it's really not like that hard of work for me to get those guests on.
Right.
For me to interview them on things that they're really good at.
Right. Okay. Would you say that it would have to, like, I've seen this everywhere. It's like, it has to be like niche, like it has to be specific. Like let's say I had a friend on and he talked about, let's say he talked about like Trinitarian stuff. And then like next little while I had someone on talk about combating objections from Islam or something. Would that kind of be in the same kind of
so that's within the apologetic niche.
Oh, okay. Because I was worried.
Or like theology niche or something. So you don't want your so the important thing is to not make your niche too narrow or too wide. Again, you can have a very, very narrow niche and blow up on YouTube. But let's just say like you played with Legos or something.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that's a niche. That's like this guy only does Lego stuff, or only does like Marvel Lego stuff, like that.
Minecraft. Yeah.
So that's very different, as opposed to like just jumping on, and it's just like way too wide. So my channel is generally Christian worldview stuff, and because my view of apologetics is not just coming up with arguments for God's existence, it is. Your apologetics is going to inform your general worldview. And so it wouldn't be surprising for me to deal with, say, something that is politically happening and I think Christians should have a stance on. because I view
I
that
was
as still as an apologetics sort of thing.
right because I've kind of been wanting to like because I don't want to because I've seen the niche stuff, but you said kind of somewhat differently. Like I've looked into like responding to certain things, but like I don't want YouTube to be like, "What are you doing?" Like this is kind of outside your realm, you know. But I'm glad that you said like not too narrow, not too broad. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Correct. So again, you don't want to like bait and switch people. You don't want to say, here's what I'm doing. And then people show up and you're just like talking about something completely different.
Right.
Right. If you do that enough, then people are just going to unsubscribe or not be interested in what you have to say.
Right. Okay. I get what you're saying. So for a, sorry, let me think about how to form the question.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say something like a Ruslan, like let's say Ruslan wanted to start over his channel, like somebody like Ruslan would do really well in the arena of YouTube right now?
Yeah, I don't see why not. So Ruslan brings in, like, I think he's like a combination of a number of things. I've had lots of conversations with him about this stuff, by the way. So Ruslan does sort of like entertainment, commentary, Christian stuff. Like it's all a mixture of that, right?
Right.
And some people are like, look, that's not my cup of tea.
Right.
And that's okay. Look, I'll tell you this, and Ruslan knows this. Like I went on Ruslan's channel and I've had people come to my channel from Ruslan's channel who were like, hey, I was following Ruslan. I saw you and I was like, well, that's the sort of stuff I would prefer. And I don't watch Ruslan that much.
Right.
And it's like, cool. Like that's what you're looking for. Your time is always, valuable and limited and you know
Right.
what you want. But then there's people who are like, yeah, I want to know, what like a Christian take on Drake's latest whatever would be. It's like, I'm not going to deal with that most of the time. Okay.
Right.
Unless I think I have something to say about it where it's unique enough that other people haven't said.
Like get value out of it, right?
Yeah. So I would like, there's many times I see something happening in popular culture and I'm like, hey, I would like to say a couple of things about this. And I'll go on YouTube and then I'll see, John McRae's responded to it or Mike Winger or Ruslan. And I'll watch those videos and I'm like, these guys all said basically what I was going to say. So I'm not going to do that.
Right.
But sometimes, like I've made a number of videos on Andrew Tate and people were like, oh, you're using his fame or whatever like that. And I'm like, no, it's just the guy's very influential. And then he says things that I think I can react to in a certain way.
Right.
Like one of them, I think I responded to by saying, nothing he's saying is new to me because I've heard it my whole life because I'm Armenian.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you gotta see what's going on. And I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with seeing things that are trending and then jumping on them. Because you're going to bring exposure. That's just, I think that's being wise. But again, if you're just going to be repeating things,
right,
it takes quite a bit of time. Like you always got to look at your time. If I'm going to make a 10-minute video, I'm probably working on that video for 4 to 5 hours. Okay. That's scripting, recording, editing. Like it takes a lot of time. So you ask yourself, do I want to invest that amount of time into making something that everybody else has made and talked about? Again, I'm not interested in it. I kind of want to make a couple of videos on the interview that Tate just did with Patrick Bet-David. Just watching that is a 4-hour research project. Like it's a 4-hour podcast. And I'm literally like listening to it, not passively, very actively listening to it, taking notes, writing down timestamps and saying, okay, you go back to 1 hour and 15 minutes. And here's what he said. Here's, I kind of sort of do a bullet point script. Then I revisit it and develop that. But what I'm trying to get at is it takes energy and effort. And, especially if there's something you're going to research, you might want to jump into some books or some other videos of folks and that's not even like the technical side. If you want to have B-roll in there and all that stuff, that there's all this work that's being done behind the scenes.
Right. What do you mean by B-roll? Like kind of.
B-roll would be like you're talking, and then there's like 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 let's just say the line in your video is, imagine walking by this by the beach. It's like you find a video of the beach,
Right.
and you have that go for like that 3 seconds. Those are called B-rolls.
Okay, I gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah. So that like helps people stay in tune with your videos.
Right,
People who use B-roll and use it well. Some people actually shoot their own B-rolls, which is insane. In regards to the work that takes, and they're really good at using a video camera. But it kind of resets people, and then it keeps people on your videos longer. It's you got to think about it. It's like, what do you watch? What's enjoyable for you to watch?
Right. I get what you're saying. I think it's like I'm in my head too much, and I'm like, oh, what am I gonna make? Like, what am I gonna do? And then you're here, and you're probably not in too much of a different position as far as like, you're not like, oh my gosh, I don't want to say the wrong thing on the stream, and like, like I think I think it's because I'm very new to all this. I'm like stressing and like, all this, but it's refreshing to hear that, your take on it, because you're kind of in the game and all that.
Yeah. So you're always gonna look back on your older videos and say, wow, that was crap. Like, that's just, by the way, that's just generally the case with anything that you do. Like, I've gone back and listened to sermons I'd given years ago and then said, I could have done a better job. Right. But that's okay. I mean, that's a part of the growth process. It's lots of really big YouTubers like go back and revisit their original videos and like, look how bad this looks. The background's bad. There's no lighting and this and that. But that's okay. And so I would just say, if you're comfortable with your content and you know what you're talking about and really want to present that to the world, just I say what Think Media says. Just hit record. Set up your phone on a tripod, and then record. I don't know. Have I taken these videos down? Let me see. There's these videos I did this is actually, I was in Armenia and I was recording and I didn't have much equipment with me. But let me go back here. I recorded them with my camera, like outdoors.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
some of them are still public.
GoPro?
No, like with my phone, with my iPhone.
Oh, wow.
Here, like this is a video. I'm gonna post the link. So that's one I did on my phone. Here's another one. Like I interviewed Gary Habermas for like 10 minutes on Jesus mythicism at a conference with my phone and a little rinky-dink tripod and then a mic that connected to my phone. I just like approached him. I was like, Dr. Habermas, can I interview for 10 minutes on Jesus mythicism? He was gracious enough to say yeah, and then so we recorded it.
Wow, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, okay.
But if you go back, I mean, there's enough videos for on my channel for you to go back and say, oh wow, look, it's and you just got to be comfortable to allow those. There's a number of them I've unlisted, and the reason why I unlisted them is because I want to remake those videos. So I like the content, but I don't like the quality. So what I want to do is go back and just create them, just me talking like this and edit it well, because the content's, I think, rich enough.
Right. Okay. Do you have any advice about like your like I guess profile picture and like your what is it called, banner? I think
banners, thumbnails. Yeah. Do I have a device? Use a decent camera. And learn like very basics of editing. Like so a website you can use is Canva. I don't know if you're familiar with Canva.
I've heard of it before.
Yeah, so use Canva. I use Canva for all my thumbnails. That's because I'm not a Photoshop guru, but I use Canva for all that stuff.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Would you say that in your experience, like people go into a video and they want to see somebody's face? Like it's more inviting, I guess.
So both of these are completely doable and do well on YouTube. You can have what's called a faceless channel where people just hear your voice or hear someone else's voice. It's just narration.
Right.
And then what they call a talking head, which is what you're seeing here. So which is typically one person just talking into a camera. Or you've seen the podcast stuff where there'll be a room and there's like 3-4 people sitting around microphones and talking. Every single one of those does well. So it's very difficult to answer that question. Like, are people really interested in that? So for example, what I'm doing with you right now, and it didn't really. So when I had Pine Creek on, he said, "Hey, I just want to commend you because," he said, "I think you're one of the very few people where you drop a link, who's a Christian and does apologetics, where you drop a link and people can just call you and interact with you." And I was like, "Oh, really? I didn't." And then I thought about it and I was like, "Oh, yeah, there isn't many people who do this." Like there's lots of apologetics channels, and I think they're good. Those guys are all, I don't want to say all are friends, but I know I've met a good amount of them. But they do whatever it is that they do. They do a really good job. It's just I prefer interacting with people, and I like the conversations. That's partly why I read almost every comment that comes in, and I can do that because the channel's not that big. Where I'm not getting like my chat is not scrolling at infinite speed.
Yeah,
because
not like Twitch.
Yeah, because I can't. I'd go crazy.
Yeah. It honestly, it bothered me.
My moderators really would need to like help me out there if that happened.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I appreciate your time, and I think you answered all my questions. But I'll touch bases with you and get your email if that's okay.
Dude, whatever you need, just shoot me an email.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate your time.
No doubt.
I'll be watching.
Cool, man.
Well, I'll be in the chat. Yeah.
Cool.
See you, dude.
Thanks for coming. Hey, that was cool. It's always nice being friendly with folks. Thursday works. Phone or office is fine. Office always better. Multitasking, guys. I gotta go back and read all these comments. Radioactive trees came in and the chat went nuts. Hey, look at that. Jerome's impressed. It's always a good thing for Jerome to be impressed. What's up, Saperalde? Okay. Prison system is very religious. Okay. Ooh, Jason. By the way, there's some kind of a semi-racist comment made. I don't condone this. All I need is one mic. That's true. Unless you're in the office, Khach, then I would need two. One for you. Gotta have you on, bro. Like, it would be really cool. Folks, so Khach 22, Catch 22, y'all get it. Catch 22. He is one of my oldest friends. We have known each other for a very, very long time. We've known each other since high school. And yeah, he knows things about me most folks don't. He probably knows things about me that my wife doesn't. I was hiding my baby face. I don't have much of a baby face. It's just hairless. That's the semi.
This is a sickness of the highest order.
I got music in my head, but I don't know what music it is. I'm just. Yeah, Mike, that was Skye. I apologize. Hey, man. Radioactive trees was like easy because all I did was Google radioactive trees. And then I just threw a graphic up there. Hey, that's not bad because there's a really good painting of cool painting of Saint Jerome. I'll show you. When Jerome calls, this is the painting we're going to have. This is the picture. It's actually at a museum near where I'm living. There's a lot of them. He's with skulls quite a bit in caves. When Jerome calls, this is the picture we're going to put up. That's not a good one. We got you. We got you covered, Jerome. You got more audience from Pine Creek than Ruslan. That's not true, actually. More in the more. I don't think that's true, but I think a lot of you guys like this sort of a format because of what Pine Creek does in regards to him interacting with the audience. Ruslan interacts with the audience, but not as much. And again, just the subjects are very different. I think the subjects that you guys are interested in, you guys are going to be attracted. But a lot of folks watch the videos like after the fact. I've got quite a bit of subscribers from Ruslan. And recently even having Leighton Flowers from Soteriology 101 on, has brought me quite a bit of subscribers from his channel. That's right, Justin. That's right, because we got a sick community. Good evening, Paul. You atheists need to find funnier parts of the Bible that are actually funny. They're meant to be funny. What's up, McCoy? Jacoy? Badev, good evening. That's a good... I should tell you guys, the Armenian squad, what was Luxing Armenian? Well, I got a bachelor's degree in biblical studies. I sure hope so. Appreciate that. Dude, it's not poop bread, bro. What's wrong with you guys? It's his bread cooked on dung, but he refuses to do it. Ezekiel says, no, I'm not going to do it on, and then God says, it's okay, you can do it on manure. Right? So, yeah. Anybody ever actually burned manure? You guys ever seen manure dried and mixed with like chaff and dried into bricks so they can use it as fuel? It actually burns pretty consistently. See, this is the thing, is that you guys haven't even experienced these things. A lot of you guys, if you're not from a farm, you've never seen any of these things. Said I'd ID Arthur at the store. I haven't been ID'd in a very long time. I don't live in Glendale. No, I live in Sun Valley. But same thing. Can you tell me what microphone you were talking about? It's called the Blue Yeti. Because I don't have... The Blue Yeti is my former microphone. This is the Shure. Acts 19, 15 to 16. It's funny. Let's see. I'll tell you what one of the ones I like. Oh, it's the jumping, the demon-possessed man beating those guys up. The one I like is Jesus nicknaming James and John, the sons of Zebedee, sons of thunder. I actually think Jesus is making fun of them there because they're the two guys that go and ask Jesus whether they should call down fire from heaven on those people, and then they end up getting nicknamed sons of thunder. Just calling in today, or are you open to doing... I'm not going to do reactions today, guys. That's for tomorrow. There's definitely some distortion in your mic. I'm monitoring my own mic. There's no distortion. Oh, that's a good story. Oh man, I forgot about this one. Yes, this is one of this is Jacob's sons. This story is kind of like dark because I think they raped the sister, right? Oh, I said that word. YouTube's gonna ban me. And then, yeah, he's like, dude. He's like, y'all gotta be like one of us. You need to get circumcised. And then as they're recovering, it's so crazy. There's some weird stories, man, in the Bible. Like just the one with Tamar is really, really weird. What? Dude, you got to read Genesis, man. What kind of atheists are you guys? Jerome, what kind of a fake atheist are you, man? Come on, dude. You don't. I deny this stuff. I don't even know what it is. At least these guys know the Bible. Come on. Oh, you know which one I like? I like the guy who goes into the king's chamber. He's left-handed, so his sword is on his right side, and they don't check it. And then he sticks the sword into the king is really, really fat, and he sticks the sword into him and like presses it into his gut, and then he leaves. And it says the guards got a stench. And essentially the stench they're getting is because his guts have spilled out. The poop inside of him is just like, imagine walking into that. Dark is incredibly generous phrasing. Yeah, that's fine. Anybody have any distortion issues with my mic? Because it seems like Paul's having one, guys. If you guys don't have it, then it's Paul's problem. Yeah, it is Genesis 34. Hey, American Cuban man, I don't know what's going on with your devices. I hit when you call in and I hit accept, it drops it. So I sorry, dude, but I'm hitting accept every single time. And we just had someone on. It was fine, like immediately connected and no issue. Sean, any comedy in the Bible? Yeah, I think there's these like underlying sort of funny stuff. think by the time I go today, you guys got to you guys have to hang on till the end of the stream for me to announce to you the exciting news. I was speaking to a coworker of mine the other day who's a Christian, and I referenced the mustard seed thing about faith moving a mountain, and he had no clue what I was talking about. Really? That's not even like one of those obscure Old Testament stories that people have a hard time with, like some like 4-sentence judge from Judges. It's like pretty... Why are Christians so weird, man? Read your Bibles. What is this regarding? Context, please. Oh, in regards to the exciting news I'm going to announce. No. If I was going to announce that kind of exciting news, I'd probably have my wife next to me. Hey, you know what I just noticed in the chat? I think it's like 100% men. I know there's women that watch this channel, and some of them are mods and stuff. But today, it's you guys. I think there might be 100% guys in this chat. So let me rephrase what Jerome just said. He said, this is partly why I'm not a Christian, by the way. I'd be expected to know all sorts of odd stories for no reason. So what you're saying, Jerome, is that you're lazy. That's a pretty lame reason not to be a Christian. Like if I'm right, Jerome, if I'm right, and you're like standing before God, and you're like, I was just really not interested in knowing all those random stories. I think this is working. It turned off. Dude, it was on for like 3 seconds, American Cuban, and turned off. I identify as a female, so therefore you are wrong, Arnold. Are you a child? Yes, I am. How dare you? How dare you assume things? Arthur, do you know all Hindu stories? No, I don't know all Hindu stories, but I have the Gita sitting back there. But I don't reject Hinduism because of the stories that I don't know. I reject Hinduism because I think philosophically it's the sort of view they have, whether it's panentheism or pantheism, just doesn't make sense. American Cuban says, I've been calling in for weeks and I keep answering your calls and it keeps dropping. So considering that other people call in and it never drops the call, I just hit accept and then they're on and we have conversations. I am led to assume that the problem is not on my end, my friend. It really is not. I don't know what I could do because like the software that I'm using is literally for like really stupid people. It's a very simple to use software is what I mean. I don't need to do much. When the call comes in, I go, it's not even accept. it's a green button. And I hit that digitally. And it just happens. So I don't know. You might have some kind of a blocker or something like that on whatever device you're using. Because I've never had this issue. And I've called using Ecamm, and then I've also been on the receiving end. I've never had this issue for anyone. Yeah, I would say if you're calling in from, even if you're calling in from your phone, download a Chrome. I think I've said this before. If you're not using Chrome, that might be the issue. So use Chrome. So when you hit the link, make sure you open it in Chrome. Very good. Thank you, Catch. Thanks, bro. I don't think there's a problem of evil for Hindus. If it's karma, there is no typical understanding of the way we understand the problem of evil. You're just getting you're getting what you deserve. The answer is you're getting what you deserve. Correct. That's exactly why. Yeah, download Chrome. Don't use Safari. That's the problem. So download Chrome. Open it up in Chrome. Hey, look, we solved the issue. Yeah, Ecamm doesn't work very well with Safari, which is very weird considering that Ecamm is only for the Apple computers. Yeah, it's so weird, right? Very weird. Hey, hey, look, we're proving something here. It's not that difficult, is it?
Can you hear me?
Wait, stop grunting.
Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. See, I told you.
Yeah, it just.
I've had to use Chrome instead. So
You're using Chrome.
yeah. I didn't think this would work. I'm using different headphones.
Man, it's really dark in England.
Yeah, it's always dark when you're doing this. It's always so. I was gonna go to sleep, but
Tell me the truth. You saw those Man City fans and you felt sorry for them.
No, I
saw
nothing. No.
Oh, you have to. It's all over the internet.
I watched. I literally watched. I watched. What was I doing? I was doing something, and then I came home from somewhere, and then I forgot. I can't believe I forgot that the Champions League final was happening. So I go in there. I don't know how I managed to do that, but I forgot it was happening, and then I watched 5 minutes before Rodri scored, and I just watched all that from then onwards.
How about Lukaku, man? That's the man right there.
Oh, don't even start.
What a waste of a player.
It's actually so unfortunate, man.
It's not unfortunate. He's horrendous.
No, but
now he's got to go back to Chelsea.
Yeah, no, that's why I feel bad for him. Like, what's he gonna do now? He's not gonna do anything. Like he leaves instantly. They're not gonna play him now. So
no way. Well, they got a new coach. Maybe Pochettino has something for him.
Nah, I don't think so. No.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just want you guys to know that we got Saint Jerome calling us. He's got a pretty decent connection considering the time period he's calling us from. Oh man, how is the 4th century? I must say you have pretty good English, considering that your English is also British English. It's some stuff there. How's your Latin? Oh man. You know,
I
it's
mean,
very
before I
interesting,
was,
and I don't know the reason for this, but Jerome, and I've seen this in a lot of paintings of Saint Jerome. For anybody who's like an art critic and loves this stuff, it's almost always the case where there's a skull. All of the paintings
in
about
the
him
picture,
have
yeah,
a skull.
yeah, that's common for people. I don't know why. In those old ones, I don't know
Yeah,
why it's so common.
it's like maybe it's like the reality of death.
I think it's more of like an aesthetic thing. I don't think like it's actually. I think you're reading too much into that, but I don't know.
Hey, bro, everything's relative. I can read whatever, like it's whatever it means to
I
me.
mean, yeah, fair enough. You can, but
You're
I
okay
don't
with
know.
people just claiming random genders. You're not okay with me interpreting a painting? Come on now. Hey, we got a Chelsea fan that's calling you out here. He says Arteta could have been a Champions League winner. Instead, he chose the wrong path. That's true. He went to Arsenal. And now he's a
You could,
bottler.
nah, you could,
He's bottled, as the famous Jose Mourinho said.
you could say that, right? But then, like, if he was in like, I don't even want to call it backroom stuff, but if he was working
He
on
was
the
an
tech,
assistant. He was an assistant.
it would be, yeah, exactly. Like it's like similar, but I understand why he'd want to do that, right?
Hey, imagine if
Like,
Pep called Arteta and was like, "Hey, you better not screw the season up for us. Like, I made you who you are. You guys need to start dropping points."
they
Hey,
probably talk a lot.
that's a
actually.
weird conspiracy thing that will become really, really popular on the internet.
Yeah,
Insider news:
wouldn't
Pep
even
Guardiola
discuss it.
told Arteta to lose games so they can get the treble.
The wrong matches. Yeah.
Zinchenko and Jesus. I wonder. They sold Jesus. Did you guys pay for Zinchenko as well?
Yeah, about 30.
So, bro, they sold those two players and bought Haaland with that money.
Yeah, close enough. Yeah,
Makes sense.
good trade. Good
Not
trade.
bad,
for
yeah.
him. Good trade. Good trade.
Haaland is 22 years old, which is the scary thing for me.
Yeah, I know.
It's terrifying.
Insane. Like just hold him for like 10 to 15 years and they're all good. Like, that's crazy.
Imagine like when he's like 25, 26, if they want to sell him, the kind of money they can get for him. Thierry Henry thinks if Haaland works on his right-sided game, if he can take the ball to his right the way he takes it to his left, he's like he can just score hundreds of goals. That's an Arsenal legend right there, Thierry Henry.
Yeah.
Haaland's dad got paid 40 million?
Four.
Dude, I want to be Haaland's dad. Dude, that's it. That's what I'm going to do. My son's going to become a soccer player, and I'm just going to demand I get like 50 million for the trade.
I knew you were going to say.
Totally. And I got two boys, bro. 40 mil each. It's worth it. Totally is. You know what was really like touching that I saw, Jerome? I don't know if you saw this, but West Ham winning the what is it with that cup?
Conference League, yeah.
Yeah, the Conference League, and then David Moyes gave his medal to his dad.
Oh, that's cool.
That was sick, man. Considering that, cool. like his dad's probably in his 90s or something. I like that. I like seeing stuff like that.
That is pretty cool. I didn't see that, but it's always easy.
He said, "Wait, isn't Jerome like 22 years old?" So we don't know how old Jerome actually is. I know this painting, this picture of him that we have on the screen makes him look really old. He's told us he's in between 20 and 25. So yeah, 22, 23. That's the average.
It's always these like these cup final games are always like really dead. They're always like 1 or 2-0 and that's it. You never really see anything like deviating from that.
The reason is because I think everyone's nervous. Nobody wants to lose. And it's just like, every once in a while we'll get a crazy game. But like they were talking to Grealish afterwards and he said, "Oh man, I had a bad game. That was he said I had a really bad game." And then somebody from the side said, nobody cares. Like, nobody's going to remember that.
Exactly, you won the game.
Yeah, like, they're going to remember you being a Champions League winner. Hey, we got Tony calling in. Tony, hang on. I gotta move Jerome's picture aside.
Who's that?
That's Tony. I hope he's not... Okay, he just left.
Oh, no. Unfortunate. It gives me some room to ask this, though. So, you know that video I spoke about yesterday? The one with the with your friend?
Jason.
Really, really old.
Yeah. I should have Jason back on, just to shock you guys.
He's actually funny, but...
He's a really cool dude.
Do we want to talk about this again? I don't know, man.
Like, what's the question?
It's kind of just about like abortion in general. It's like you have... It's like I understand the general take, right? And why you guys think that it's like bad to have it, but it got to a point where you were discussing like exceptions, and he just said no exceptions. And like if you were to bring that into like any sort of political discourse, you'd run into like loads of major issues, being like, well, you're telling people to have children, from like I don't even know if I can say the specific words on your channel.
Say it in. I'll get the gist of it. Do you mean like family member stuff?
Yes, and also like forced, right?
Yeah. Grapes.
I'm not saying that. Never in my life will I say
You're not gonna say grape?
No, I'll never say that. Don't even start. Never. That is so bad. Why would you invent that? That's so. Who told you to say that?
I don't know.
So
I've just heard people saying it.
No, I will never say that. Yeah, it's like if you were to run into like a political discussion.
By the way, I have a. Let me say. I interviewed this woman. This is when I just like was dabbling with YouTube, and I really wish that I actually stuck with it. Because I'm dead serious. If I actually stuck with it and knew what I knew about YouTube back then, like 2009, my channel would be like in the millions now.
2009, yeah, you probably would be.
Yeah. I interviewed this woman who was the product of that. The forced thing you were talking about, whose mother couldn't have the abortion because it was illegal. So this is prior to 1973 in the United States. Ended up having her and then giving her up for adoption. Then she ended up finding her biological mother. Like she had this phenomenal story. She's actually like a pro-life advocate and stuff like that. And it was very interesting speaking to someone from that side, right? Like from her experience, and her biological mom and her have a very good relationship now. Like she understands why her mom gave her up for adoption.
Right.
Yeah. So like for me, it's like I always want to consider like the child hasn't done anything wrong, right? Like, what if let's just change the scenario a little bit. I guess ethical, you and I know well that ethical situations are always dependent on the scenario of the story we give. Suppose like you're a family, you have kids, it's fine. And then like 5 years after having 2 kids, the father of these kids, since you and I are both males, let's just say the mother. Like the mother ends up like becoming a serial like murderer that's gonna be remembered throughout history as like one of the worst violent people on the planet.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, because typically like the people give this argument and they give you like this emotional kind of heartstring kind of thing where it's like, well, every time you see that child, you're going to remember where they came from, or you're going to remember their father or something like that. And like, well, yeah, like in a situation like that, that's probably going to be the case as well. Like, oh man, your dad, my husband, or your dad, your mom, my wife ended up doing these like horrendous things. It's like, yeah, but those kids haven't done it. Like the child hasn't done anything wrong. And what we need to do is consider that child. right? And then I think the perspective changes a bit there. And if you can't take care of that child, and this is generally, by the way, I would just challenge Christians to step up and churches to step up, folks who care about this issue generally to step up and either adopt kids or provide, like if a mom can't take care of their child, like we've done drives at our church where people just brought baby equipment. So car seats, what do you guys call diapers, by the way, in England? Nappies?
Yeah. You know what's insane? I actually think that the way you lot say it is better in this one instance. I think it's better to say what you say.
America wins!
Yeah, literally. Like it's funny until you like say it to an adult. You say like nappies. Like, that sounds weird. So I don't know.
So it's funny. I went to buy some diapers in Armenia, and then I said, "Can I have some diapers?" But I said in Armenian. I didn't know how to say diapers in Armenian. Right. And I said diapers, and the lady looked at me. She's like, "What?" I said diapers, and like I had to say it like 3 times, and she just wasn't getting it. And I pointed at it. I was like, "That." She goes, "Oh, Pampers," and I was like, "That's the brand. Like it's called diapers." And so it was cool because I taught her English a little bit.
Wow.
It's like there's a distinction between. She wasn't even concerned because I thought it was the English that she was having an issue with. But
capitalism has gone too far. That's
crazy. Yeah. There's some brands, man. There's some brands that have done a really good job. So
that's funny.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I would say in a situation like that is like the child hasn't done something wrong. And then, I was talking about the drive. Like we did these drives at our church, and actually Arnold was very involved in that. In regards to some moms and dads choosing to keep their kids. And it was like, what do you guys need? Like literally, do you need baby food? Do you need formula? And we just announced it at our church. We had a room in the basement where we just stacked it with baby stuff. Strollers and like bassinets, like anything. And we actually, I think, hey, Arnold, correct me, you're in the chat, but I think on a couple of occasions we actually threw baby showers, just like because it takes a community, right? Like people are going through traumatic experiences, and it's not just saying like, no, don't have the abortion, keep the baby, X, Y, and Z. Can you come around that family and be a support system for them to like if they're going through hardships, like for them to get back on. Like I remember there was a situation where this couple was in financial hardships. The dad needed to get like licensing to get a certain job, so our church paid for him to get his licensing.
Okay.
It's like, what's keeping you? Like, why do you want to do this? Well, I don't have a job. I need X, Y, and Z. It's like, okay, let's make that happen. Because the life of that child is that important to us. Because I think a lot of times people are, not that this is an easy choice, even though I've seen people just like be very careless about it. A lot of people, it's a difficult choice, but they feel like they don't have another option. And for folks to come around them and say, look, okay, you need a job. Maybe we can find someone to give you a job. And churches generally are good places where you can actually say, hey, is there anybody here that owns a business that could give someone a job? You're probably going to come across someone who owns a business who can give someone a job.
Right.
And then like solve that issue in a very quick manner, as a matter of fact. And it could be like you find out about it on a Friday, you announce it on a Sunday, and they have a job on Monday. Or you just make a couple of phone calls. It's like, hey, hang on, let me just send a couple of texts and see if these people are interested in this. And I know there's a network with a bunch of guys that in the United States, there's a network of folks who want to adopt kids. And they'll just send out like this email and it's like, or these texts saying, hey, is there anyone that would like to adopt a child that's the parents that don't want to have the abortion? And then some folks would say, yeah, we'll take them. And then they go through that. So there's all sorts of ways we can combat this. Without kind of like, I'm not even talking about the political aspect of it, like in a very practical way. One of the things I've thought about, and maybe it's a bit more difficult, but it would be really interesting to see where you essentially adopt a child for a limited time. So say it's a single mom who's in, let's say, college. Because I'm just coming up with real scenarios people give.
Oh, what? Like adopts them until they're like 4 and then they go back? Or
Yeah, like you're like,
when-
hey,
when they're
I'll
like,
adopt
okay.
your kid. I'll take care of your kid. You're more than welcome to come and see your child. Finish your education. Like if that's like you want to get into a career, you think you're not going to be able to do that and keep the kid and all that stuff. We'll care for your kid. And you have full access. Like you're a friend of the family. Like you come and visit your child. And the agreement is that after you're done with college and you get a job and stuff like that, you take your kid.
Right.
Like I don't see why
like,
that's not a
most of,
possibility.
most of the stuff you said, like I've actually like. Obviously, it's gonna depend on what people you know and what like what social groups you're like linked into. And your example is probably like a really good one because you're gonna say that you're part of like a Christian community who cares about all these sorts of people for like a specific reason, right? But I don't know, like for most social issues, I'm gonna like disagree with you lot generally, but this is the one um I don't know, like ethical thing where I'm the closest to agreeing with you on. And mostly because like I just like thinking about I don't even know. I'm gonna say that I'm gonna say like, if you think about like consequences, right? They're gonna think about like what how much utility is being like made and lost in the situation, right? Like a child dying is like massive negative utility, right? So I'm gonna think that. But when I was in like university and stuff, and I was reading all sorts of different arguments on this, I kind of like came to the conclusion that I'm gonna have to have exceptions for the two things we discussed before, and then if that's the case and you're not making exceptions, then I feel like you'd have to be pro-choice in a way, because if you're pro-life and then you say there's going to be exceptions, then you're literally going to say that people are dying because of how they were conceived, right?
Like
So
what
like,
would be an exception? Like so give me a scenario of an exception.
wait, no. So like the two things that we've said before, like if you're and this is just how like the UK government does it, for example. Like they're just gonna be like um it's just gonna be like legal for you to have an abortion if either of those things
Well,
happen
it's
to
not
you.
that it's illegal to have an abortion.
Yeah, we'll pass a certain point, right?
Yeah, but like
Like,
it's already illegal to kill people, like murder people.
well, right, but like we're talking about like an abortion, right? So it's not when you're talking to people like that, you're gonna have to like limit your phrasing. So
Yeah, but like okay, like again, we're rational folks, you and I, right? We disagree on issues. We're very open about what we disagree about. We can have fun conversations with each other, and so I would say, cool. Like you and I agree, it's illegal to murder people, right?
yeah.
Okay, so since we do that, the question comes down to whether that is actually a person. Because we're not disagreeing on the death, right? We're not disagreeing on we should have laws against killing innocent people, i.e. murder.
Right.
What it's really going to come down to is whether that's a person or not.
Well, I don't even think that matters, right? Because like when you read you must know about this, right? But like the common pro-choice argument that I'm aware of is the violinist thing. If you must be aware of this, I think, yeah. So people who make this argument don't care about like personhood, right? Because they think it's too long to get involved in that sort of like discussion. They don't think it's like relevant. So all those people who are gonna have that conversation are just gonna be like bodily autonomy, right? That's what they're gonna like press on. So
Yeah, but
I
bodily
don't.
autonomy, it's only to a certain limit. But
Yeah, true. But like you're gonna run it into those people, and they're gonna say that the personhood just isn't relevant. Um, which I may or may not agree with. I'm not too sure yet, but like because they're gonna say that your personhood is only relevant when you have when you're not dependent on someone else, right? I wonder if you could hear that car in the background.
I
You
did.
might have been able to. Yeah.
At this
Maybe I
time
should
at
close
night,
this
what's wrong
window.
with these people?
Yeah, I don't know. It's very warm over here, so I've had to leave my window behind me open. But
Yeah, so the thing that I would say is number one, that violinist kind of bodily autonomy stuff typically is thinking about the subject where its force is in the question, which is a very, 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 very minute aspect of the abortions that do happen. Like, it's really small. It always gets blown out of proportion.
wait, what do you mean forced? I'm confused.
Grapes.
No, it's actually not. Like if you were if they, like people who make this argument, I just apply it to every single like
Yeah,
pregnant
but
person
then
ever.
now they're
Like
seeing children, right? They're seeing children as, what's the word? I've heard people say children are a parasite.
yeah, I
That's
mean that's the argument that's being made, right?
yeah, it's
Like,
like
like
again, like
if
look at
if
their
you're gonna
view
engage
of
in
humans.
these situations like that, yeah, but like that's still how it's gonna be viewed, right? because because when like this is the hard part for me, right? Because what I want to say is I want to agree with somebody like you who will say, you should in an ideal situation just be like going through the pregnancy and giving them up for giving them up for abortion. Am I an idiot? Giving them up for adoption, or doing like one of the other things where you say that you like temporarily adopt them for a
Yeah,
period
yeah.
of time or whatever. Like I want to say all that sort of thing, right? But then I really this isn't gonna work, but I don't want to be in situations where I'm like I'm telling people to do things that I wouldn't be able to experience myself, right? Like me telling somebody to go through 9 months of what I perceive to be like kind of like a really really rough experience, just to just
Why
to
are
like
we
go.
viewing pregnancies as rough? By the way, like
Well, no, no,
my
because
wife loves being
every
pregnant.
because no, clearly, your friend Jason's wife also enjoys it.
Correct.
Clearly,
Yeah. It's like
11
no. The thing is that
times. What is that
some
about?
people
What are
have
you
an
playing?
easier pregnancy. Actually, like
Right,
some
right, right.
people their
But
pregnancies are
like,
pretty easy. Yeah,
but
there's
keep
difficulties
in
there,
mind, right? Keep in mind,
but
but like I'm like every time I read well, every time I like listen to these sorts of discussions, um like one example, this is such a bad example, but I'm gonna give it anyway. um there was one time where it might have been you, it might have been somebody else. Somebody was watching one of those Jubilee videos where they
Mhm.
have the middle ground stuff, and it was like abortion, like pro-choice versus pro-life people. And then like every time somebody like pro-life person would make an argument, um like being like, oh, you should just give them up for adoption, right? Like loads of the pro-choice people would literally come up and be like, oh, you're telling women to go through this like really hard experience and like put their bodies into like so much stress just for this, right? And like my counterpoint to that is like my instinctual one would be like, you put yourself in that situation, and like for the most part anyway, and therefore you should just firm it. But that just sounds like really bad, because like I don't really know what goes on in terms of like the general what's it called, the general like how like the average pregnancy. I don't know how like hard that is. Like my mom has told me that it's quite hard for her as well, like when she was having me. But um like on a day-to-day basis, I mean, right? But
yeah, you
I
know
don't know,
that
it's
what I
really
would
hard for
say
me to
is
do that.
like so like the question comes is like we shouldn't be telling people what to do if we wouldn't like we can't go through it or something like that. But there's plenty of times and places we tell people, like as a society, we demand that people go through things that we wouldn't necessarily have to go through.
Right, right,
That's
right,
part of having a civilized society. You let
right.
rationality rule. You want order. You want like public flourishing, right? You want the good of people, and then you want to protect the rights of those people who cannot speak for themselves.
Mhm.
right?
So it's like I remember like in the video I watched, like one of you two or both of you was saying that like people think they're like entitled to have like an easy life or something and like get away
Correct.
with like um so, I don't know if I agree with that though. Like I don't feel like we should be telling people to do these sorts of things.
The thing is that
I
look,
don't know.
Jason's probably seen. I don't know if Jason said this in the interview. Jason actually had his girlfriend have an abortion, like before he was a Christian.
Oh, okay.
That would be something to like have him back on and speak about that.
Man, he probably feels
Okay.
really bad about that.
He does.
Okay.
Quite a bit. And he stood in front of abortion clinics and seen all sorts of people going through. Like he's done this long enough to have seen all of it, dude. Like he's got some insane stories. A vast majority of people that have abortions, it's for convenience sake. Like really,
I don't know that.
I'm telling you, bro. Like I've had conversations. Like I don't know how many. There's people in this chat that would attest to this. I've seen very few people who've legitimately said, "Hey, like I got this issue, that issue. This is what's going on in my life." And ironically, those are the people who are most open to actually keeping their babies. The people who are actually having real struggles in life. And if you can solve the real struggles, those would be the people that would go, yeah, I'll keep this baby. That's the weird thing. It's like a lot of folks I've seen go in there is just like, hey, I got knocked up because I was at a party and I was drunk and I slept with someone. I'm like, seems like you keep making really bad decisions in life.
That seems I don't know. That seems kind of like victim blaming. That sounds a bit insane, but I don't know.
Yeah, but like legitimately, I've seen that over and over. And
Yeah, no, but remember when you're doing that, like remember like a lot of these people are just like young people who are younger than me who are doing this, and like it's like that seems like especially bad to say to that sort of person.
a
'Cause
vast
I'm like,
majority of
they're
people,
like,
the numbers might have changed, but a vast majority of the abortions in the United States happen. The girls are anywhere from 18 to 24, I think.
yeah.
Okay. So again,
Understandable.
it's like the thing is that there's a number of things I think we should think about and not be naive about. Number one, the abortion industry is an insane money-making machine. It's an insane industry. Like talk about capitalism gone nuts. Okay. Like you if we want to talk about the negative aspects of capitalism. Yeah, it's crazy. Okay. I'm not even going to get into like some of the recent interviews that came out with folks, you know, like selling body parts and all that stuff, whatever.
What?
Yeah, man, there was like all these like undercover journalists went in and had conversations with like the heads of Planned Parenthood. They were talking about like selling. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the guy actually that did it ended up they ended up suing him and taking him to court because the insane thing about it was they didn't pay attention to the stuff that were in the videos. What they cared about was you didn't have a right to record these people.
Oh.
Yeah, he went to jail and whatever. House got raided. It was nuts. You can find these stories online. But even if that's not true, let's just say it's a big money making machine. The tax, like the amount of tax dollars that goes towards funding this stuff is in the billions of dollars, right? The advocacy groups and all that stuff. And it gets presented a certain way. It always and I think this is because we're emotional beings. And then so it gets always presented in regards to like situations like the grape one we mentioned, situations like the family member kind of stuff that we mentioned, but nobody speaks about like it's just a form of birth control. It's literally, for some people, it's the same as using rubber. Like that's what it's come down to.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
oh, this is what happened. Well, we'll just go and get rid of it. And that says how low we've come as a society. And I'm just, again, generalizing here in the Western world. As a matter of fact, the very interesting thing is that European countries who tend to be more secular and liberal have stricter laws on this than America. Until very recently, we should say. Right? Like France, to use France as an example. I think it's like you can't have one past 12 weeks. It might be the same in England. I'm not sure.
No, ours is 24. We spoke about this before. Actually, we definitely spoke about
24 weeks. Yeah, so I think France and a lot of other European countries is 12 weeks. Until very recently, in the United States, especially in some states, you could have it till like the day of giving birth.
How would that even work though? Because like they'd be
partial birth abortion. Dude, I don't even want to get into the graphics nature of this.
Wouldn't they just be like? Wouldn't they literally be viable at that point? Like
partial birth abortionists. Some of them became experts at. So they kind of went into the gray areas of the law, like how many percent of the child is out of the womb when they did the act.
Okay.
So they would flip them. They would leave the head in there. Oh, man, this is like so graphic for me. It really makes me angry. But what they would do is they would stab the child in the brain, collapse the head inside the womb, rip off the head from the body, and then remove it like that. Partial birth abortion was a thing in the United States. Fully developed children. And like the think about like how barbaric that is. Like even if somebody goes and does the research and sees what we're talking about, you go, dude, this is like, you want a definition of being barbaric, being a barbarian? Like, because there's literally no difference between that child and the child you're going to hold in your arms in like 3 hours.
Right.
And folks were like, no, and for some folks still are. They're like, no, man, this should be completely fine. No issue with this, as long as it's in the womb. And some folks even would go as long further than that, saying it's the intention that matters. Like, so you could give birth, and this, some people have gotten in trouble over this. By the way, abortion clinics have been shut down for this, and I think some doctors have lost their licenses or whatever and been jailed for it, where they would deliver a child and put him aside and let him die. Now on the books, that's illegal, by the way, obviously. Like,
I mean, it must do, right?
Yeah. So like legally, but I'm going to make a comment here that I hope I don't regret. I don't think I will. If somebody's in the business of regularly aborting children, I don't really look at them as very moral people, that they wouldn't go that far as delivering a child and putting the child to the side to die. Like, I don't think they would actually care, because I think people justify things in all sorts of weird ways. Right? So we'll talk like how evil were like how evil were. Let me say this, Jerome. How evil were like SS officers? Like, do you think these guys were like heinous, evil people with like horns, like, you know, like they would have been like average folk,
right?
That jumped through hoops in their mind, justifying certain actions, and then ended up doing really heinous things. But they would have been like your next door neighbor. Then you find out about it, you go, what? That's what they were doing? And I'm just like, dude, these are doctors who are in the business of regular, let's just say on a Friday morning, going into work, and by Friday afternoon, they've aborted, say, 35 kids. And like, am I going to sit there and say, oh yeah, they're going to come to this certain thing and be like, yeah, that's sort of unethical or like illegal. Like, maybe some of them would, like, just so they don't want to get in trouble with the law. But there's enough evidence out there, videotaped, audio recordings of like really, really young girls talking to some of these counselors at these clinics who are like, There's one, I think it's a girl who's telling the person, oh, like she's an underage girl, right? I don't know, she says she's like 14, 15 or something like that. She said, oh, but my boyfriend's really older than me. And the counselor says like, well, how old? And she says something like in the 20s or something, which legally needs to be reported as statutory rape.
Yeah, obviously, right?
And she's like, oh, don't worry about it. Like, we'll just remove the child. Like these things are recorded and on the internet. So it's like, what are my expectations of people who are in this industry?
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
So two things, right? I don't know if we're like in a position to be psychologizing random what do you call them? People who abortion doctors? I don't know what the phrase is.
They're called abortionists.
Something like that. Like I don't know if we're in a position to be like regularly psychologizing these people, because these people must have like entirely different psychology to just normal people because of the job they do. So I don't know about that, but most of the stuff you've said,
That's
I'm just
fine,
not
yeah.
I'm not even gonna like bother attempting to defend any of it, because some of it I don't know, some of it I just like I'm gonna
Correct.
agree with you on.
Yeah, I'm just like, again, I'm just processing it, right? Like, I really am.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough.
Let's just say, like, forget this scenario. Let's just say there's someone who, I don't know, like tortures people for a living. Like the dude wakes up 9 a.m, he's at an office, and they come to him and they're like, hey, we got someone in the dungeon, you got to go torture him. And let's say he works for the government. He goes down there, he tortures someone, and then they were like, okay, cool, like go to this next person. And he just does this every single day. I think everybody would be reasonable to say this guy's probably going to get affected in a certain way in his psyche. There's no way you can do a job like that, quote unquote job like that, without that taking some kind of a toll on your psychology.
Yeah, no.
And you justifying certain things. Right? Like we see this with people who go to war and come back and then do like crazy stuff. And we go, oh, that's because they witnessed certain things, it messed them up. Like, yes. But imagine if that was just like the thing they did and nobody like cared about it, and we didn't even see it as an issue. I'm just saying, like, in a situation like that, I'm not surprised that we hear, and I'm sure there's a lot of stories that we never hear because they don't do investigations and all that stuff. Where very, very dark things have happened. Yeah. Someone made a comment here. Dr. Octagon said, doesn't the Bible tell you how to have an abortion? No, it doesn't. The bitter herbs drinking kind of stuff. Inspiring Philosophy has a really good video breaking that down as to what's going on. So you guys should go and look at that if you've heard that. And this is a typical argument that's brought up by people in this area. So it's like, it's not that it's new to me, but I would just say go check out Inspiring Philosophy's video on this. He explains the whole thing in regards to what's happening in that situation. So,
I want to say something about that.
Sure.
Can we stop mentioning that, please? I don't want to like represent all non-theists, right? But like, can we stop, please? Like specifically this one, and like, no, just stop.
You've heard this before, Jerome.
Yeah, I've heard this enough. It's not like it's not worth it. Like if you walk up to like a Christian, right, who's like
just say like Arthur,
right? Yeah, exactly. Like if you walk into one of these people and then you present them with like is it like Numbers 31 or something? Like do you actually think that this person is gonna like suddenly become pro-choice on the spot? Like I don't know. Like it like really
even
really
if I mean the thing is like, that's not what's happening in the text. Like cool. Like if you think
but like I think I agree with you, but like it just doesn't even matter. Like even if it was like remotely like close, like like why? Like why would you expect them to suddenly like reverse their opinion on this? Especially when their like opinion on this has come from like other areas as well. Um, so I don't know why we do this. It's really, really odd. But
it is it is something that gets brought up on a regular basis. Does the Bible? I'm telling you, man, because I think Mike Jones does a really good job of looking at that text and explaining the text. So I would just direct you to him. Inspiring Philosophy. Yeah.
I might have seen a video on this. Probably not from him though. From somebody.
Correct. Yeah, and it wouldn't be surprising that
I'm not
people
sure
have
when.
heard it enough to say that's not what the text is talking about.
Like this is what I was talking about earlier. Like some things when they're repeated a lot, they don't become like as interesting as what they would be if they weren't said enough, right? So like that Sheba story that was like discussed before, like okay, it's like
Oh, the
it's
one
like
with David's son.
yeah, like it's not like that interesting. Like it's a story where like a lot of people just die for like being like calling somebody a name, right? But like if that's your favorite Bible story, like I don't know, like it's not that. It's not like if I was to like put it in a tier list, it'd be like mid, like maybe C tier or something. It's like it's not that interesting. What was like abortion? I was gonna say something. It's like if you're gonna have um I don't know, if you're gonna have your view on abortion, which is like fine given what I know about your theology, right? Um, like what do you think? Somebody asked this before, but like, what do you think happens to the like aborted children? Right? I don't think you'd say they go to heaven, right? Because you don't even think that your kids are like that confirmed to be saved or something, and like they're like 6 to 10 years old or something. So like, what happens to like the unborn ones? What happens? Do you know? Because
Hang on, sorry. I'm so sorry. Just 1 second. I got to respond to this text.
Because that would be like semi-important, right? Like where they end up after.
In regards to the child.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose so. Look, there's been very interesting views within church history when it comes to like ensoulment, which changes the way people generally answer this question, right? Ensoulment being the concept of like when a soul is put into the body. Typically, like Protestants who are very pro-life will tell you that a human being has a soul at conception or is a human being at conception. Huh?
I thought you were going to say that.
Yeah, and I would say that because I think that's like the safest argument.
Right. Okay.
Like the Catholics are typically the ones who are going to talk about ensoulment at a different stage in the pregnancy. And this is like even pre-scientific theologians speaking about this. And I would suppose the reason for that is when there's activity happening in the womb, they would have said that we know there's ensoulment or something like that. They would have said that's like there's a rational kind of, or there's man, I'm forgetting the language here. But there's like the animal aspect of the human that's being developed in the womb. And then there's like the human, like when you have a soul, then you're a full human or something like that. Now, none of those guys never justified abortion pre-ensoulment. Like they just didn't, because they're like, this is a human being. This is just natural progression of things. But what I'm saying is that you fall back, the Catholics would fall back on church tradition and then give their arguments from that. And I've looked at that and I go, well, it seems to me that even if we can't make sense of the entire thing that's going on, probably the safest thing to move with caution so that we're not murdering people in mass.
No, I didn't expect, like, I don't expect anybody who asks this, like, if somebody asks you what happens to them when they're like aborted and you say, I don't know, I don't expect you to think, oh, I guess I should not be pro-life anymore. Like, I don't think that.
Some
like,
folks actually are, yeah. Like, yeah. I mean, look, I would say that there's definitely a way theologically within Christian theology that you say, yeah, these children are going to be with God for eternity. Now, typically the response is like, this is the trap of this question is, so why shouldn't Christians be happy about this, right?
I've heard that too.
Yeah, and it seems to me that like the most, like it's the dumbest thing you can say, right? It's sort of, let me put it this way. It's when Paul says in the book of Romans, he says, where sin abounds, there abounds the grace of God even more. And then he asks a very logical question and then answers it afterwards. He says, well, does this mean we should go on sinning? Basically, let's sin more so we have more grace. And then he says, by no means, absolutely not. Why would we do that?
Now, you see, so the people who are asking you this question, right, are going to this doesn't like this is why it's really hard for me to like conceptualize of like your worldview under like what I view it like how I calculate like a moral action, right? Because the difference between like let's say like you want me to convert so I can go to heaven, right?
Yeah.
Obviously. Yeah. So like the utility of that would be like infinite utility, right? And so me like in my view right now, like me converting doesn't increase the amount of utility in like after in the afterlife, right? Because there's just infinite utility no matter how many people go. Because if you
Yeah, but you're
times
thinking
if you
about it
times
as a
infinite,
utilitarian.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah, I just say
exactly,
throw it in
right?
the
But
trash.
yeah, but but like these people, right, who are asking you this question are gonna not view it like me for some reason, and they're gonna think the more people like it doesn't matter what like the means are. The more people in heaven, that's just like the best outcome, right? Um, and so
Yeah, it's a slippery
they're gonna
slope
say
argument.
what
I
they
think
have
it's a
said.
slippery slope argument.
No, but they've done something like that because they don't view sin the way you view it, right? Like you just think like it's just a bad thing and you should avoid it no matter what. These people are just gonna be in here thinking, um, you want to like boost the amount of people who go to heaven because
Yeah, and
it's good to have more people in there, right?
yeah,
And so
again,
therefore you should be
that's
happy
why I
about
think
it.
it's a bad argument. It's a bad
Which one?
argument that's like because they think they look. It's not just that you get more people to go to heaven. Like that's not like theologically that brings up a bunch of different questions about God's sovereignty and what He knows and what all those situations, and whether we could even do evil so that. Right, like for example, let me just go lie to a bunch of people so that they just agree with me. Right? It's like no, because Christians are called to live a certain way, to honor God a certain way, and those are just actions that we shouldn't be okay with. Murder being one of them.
Yeah, no, but
So that
remember we spoke one time about like the morality of lying, right? And
sure, but
it ended up it
that
ended
was
up
a bit different.
what do you mean?
Well, that was a bit different
When like what
in
so
regards
it's
to
like finding
saving
like
lives and
isolated
versus yeah.
situations, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't use it.
Okay.
Like the look, I also believe that a great many, this is my personal view, by the way, maybe not all Christians would agree with me. So there's a lot of people that are mentally handicapped to capacity where they cannot conceptualize of anything like God or heaven or something like that. Okay. It's like, oh, let's just kill all these people. They'll end up there anyways. That would be the sort of argument. Like, let's just commit mass genocide towards people who are mentally handicapped so that they go to heaven faster and they're no longer, let's say, for lack of better terms, like trapped in this body that's broken. Right? Instead of what I would say is, no, you care for them, you love them. Yeah, and life's going to be pretty difficult in the midst of that. But you let them live their lives. For whatever quality of life they can have, you help them in the midst of that. Because that would be the parallel argument. It's like
yes,
they wouldn't...
But that seems a bit rough though, because like then you'd have to like you probably don't even think this is a good thing, but like we during like the ethics course or whatever, we spoke about euthanasia as well, and like that's just illegal over here. Like we can't do that in the UK, right? So people like to do euthanasia, they have to like fly to the Netherlands, for example, and then they do it over there. And like, I don't really have a problem with euthanasia at base. Like it just in general, like if you're going through like the proper like procedures and stuff, like I don't really like, I don't have a problem with it, but you probably would.
Yeah, I generally
I'd
have
like
an
to
issue
think
with
you would.
euthanasia because people make
Yeah.
irrational decisions.
Right.
So like
Right.
I remember reading a story. It might have been out of the UK or it might have actually been out of the Netherlands. But this lady's husband died. And like there's nothing wrong with her. And I think she wanted to do it or she had done it because she just felt like she couldn't live without her husband.
Mm.
And I'm like, no, like people make really irrational decisions when they're grieving. Like everybody understands that. Like if you've ever been around or you've been a person who's in the midst of grieving, you say some really, really stupid things. Irrational things. It's understood that when you're going through a bunch of pain, you probably shouldn't be the person making decisions.
Right, but I'm not like somebody advocating for like euthanasia or like rights or something. Rights maybe not the correct phrasing, but like somebody who's arguing for this is just gonna be mostly anyways talking about people who are like ill
Terminally
in a certain
sick, they're
way.
gonna
Yeah,
die, X,
exactly,
Y, and Z. Yeah,
exactly. But
there's a couple
you
of
must think, right? You must think that that person is just like you don't do it anyways, even if that person is like what you consider to be a saved Christian, right? And like most people would be like, well, no, that person is like not in his, not in a condition to be like living any sort of worthwhile life. And that's it.
so we should make people's lives comfortable and we should care about them. Here's my view. People who are going through a great deal of suffering and pain can actually teach and be an example to the rest of us in many ways. And we shouldn't devalue that. We shouldn't think that people who are suffering and going through hard times like have nothing to live for anymore. And I feel like this might be an issue that's coming out of like our first world problems. Like it literally might be a first world problem. No, I'm serious, because we generally just want to avoid some of these things. The other thing I think is maybe we're misusing medicine. Maybe we are prolonging people's lives in ways we shouldn't. These are, again, guys, I don't really have a concluding answer on these things, by the way. I should say that. I'm just throwing it out there for people to at least think through. Okay? Like, for example, somebody might get a disease and die in like 3 weeks. But because of medical technology we have, we might be able to, quote unquote, prolong their lives for another 3 years. And you see this with cancer patients actually, it's a pretty good example, where some people are like, no, I'm not going to go through the treatment. Like, doctor, what you're telling me is I'm going to go through this treatment. I'm going to be essentially like bedridden. I can't move. I can't do anything for the next 2 years and then end up dying. But what you're giving me is like 2 years in that state. But if I don't, you're telling me I'm going to die in 3 months, but I can actually function in those 3 months. And some people are like, hey, I prefer to actually like travel the world and be with my family for that 3 months and do all sorts of stuff and then end up dying, instead of that 3 years prolonged period you're giving me, but I'm not even active in those 3 years. And that's like, again, it comes to the ethics of medicine. How just because we can do something doesn't mean we should or we ought to do it. That's a whole bioethical kind of conversation.
Right. But wouldn't you view the person who decided to not like do chemotherapy as like doing the equivalent of at least like something similar to like murder, right? Or killing themselves?
No, I wouldn't.
Because no, okay. Well,
No,
then I wouldn't. Then I wouldn't
again,
know what you would take then, because like it seems a bit weird, because like
the question comes down to like the question that it really comes down to is how what kind of a guarantee is there like on their death? Like for sure they're gonna die. Like there are definitely things where somebody's like, hey, you're gonna die, but if you take this medicine, you're not. Like 98% or 90% you're not gonna die, or 80% you're not gonna die. But if they come to you and they're like, hey, you're gonna die either way. You take this medicine, you're going to live 2 years longer, And then you're going to die after those 2 years, max. Could be earlier than that. If you don't, you're going to die in 6 months. So the end results are still the same. I think if the end result was different, if the end result was, no, you're going to live. Like you do this medication, you're going to end up living. Then I would say they would be morally kind of responsible or
Like,
obligated.
Yeah. Okay.
To take the medicine. Then I would agree with you with what you just said. But if the end result is both death, and then we got to maybe have conversations about like the quality of existence or something like that.
Right.
For that, at that point.
That, which is something that I would exactly do. Like I would do the exact same thing.
Yeah, look, I think, by the way, and I'd recommend all of you guys, and I realized this after I did ethics courses and I studied under somebody who's been involved in bioethics and is an ethical advisor in hospitals and stuff. One of my former professors. We'll have him on one of these days. But where like, I think in the modern world, we should all have a death plan. Like written down. Because it could put a great deal of pressure on our families and guilt on our families. And people can keep you hooked up to machines for 20, 30 years. Mm-hmm. Like not very active. Right. And I've seen this personally, in the sense that someone very close who was hooked up to a machine for 3 years, brain dead essentially. And at one point even they took him off the machine and he was just there. And so I think we should at least write something down or record something and let people know like, hey, if this ends up happening to me, here's a plan of treatment I would want. You know, like the whole do not resuscitate sort of thing that hospitals do, but maybe a bit more in detail. Okay. Because I don't know, it's weird thinking about like I would never want my family to end up making a decision and then maybe regret the decision they made and then not be able to move on with their lives because there I am in a hospital bed, completely inactive, just hooked up to a machine that's doing the breathing for me and is doing the heart beating for me. And I'm just like in that state for like 20 years. Then all sorts of questions comes like how old you are, how old your spouse is. You're still there. They can't get remarried. Like there's all sorts of guilt and stuff like that comes into an equation like that. And people should seriously think about it. Keanu asked a really good question. He said, is it a murder to pull the machine? I don't think so. So typically the way doctors would approach this is say, hey, we think it's time to remove them from the machine and see if their body will be able to continue just keeping up. And if it's not, then the person is going to pass away. And I don't think that's murder in that sense. The thing is that there's other treatments where you're just going to be hooked up to a machine. And because people are going to feel guilty over thinking, oh, they just murdered their loved ones, they'll never remove you from the machine. And that's what I'm talking about when I'm saying you should have a plan. So maybe like, especially when you're completely rational and fine and healthy, so that you don't put family members in situations where they got to make those decisions like that. Now, I don't think like you individually make that decision. You got to sit down. If you have a wife and kids, sit down and talk with them and say, hey, here's what I want to do. What do you guys think about this? Right. Like, and have that kind of very sober sort of conversation with your family members. Because I actually, sorry, Jerome. I was watching, because this guy was British too. I was watching a doctor. It was a panel of doctors having a conversation about this stuff, and the guy was an atheist who was saying this. He was sort of like crying when he was saying it. He was saying, in the modern world, people aren't dying in normal ways, like surrounded by their loved ones. That's what he was defining as normal. Right? Saying in the modern world, most of us will end up dying on a hospital bed alone in these like really somber kind of white rooms. And he was saying that's sad. the way human beings should die is being surrounded by their loved ones, not being hooked up to a bunch of machines. And that was very interesting to me because I don't think the guy had any religious kind of motivations for that conversation. He was just looking at it and saying, hey, there's like death is a part of life, right? Every single one of us will most likely die. And the most likely, the only reason I add the most likely there is because I have a certain theological view.
Okay, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah. So again, being fair to my own view, I'd say that. He didn't. He was just like, hey, we're all going to die. That's a part of life. And it should be done like the way we view everything else in regards to birth and rearing children and being friends and having community and all that stuff. Death should be a part of that equation and the way we think about it. And that really, like this, I was watching this video. I remember I was doing some papers I was writing, and it was a part of my research. And I was like, dude, that's like really sobering. Because I don't think about that because I'm young, you know, and I was younger then when I was doing this, right? And typically when we're young, we just think, hey, yeah, I'm gonna live to whatever, 85, 90, and then you get older, and then you're like, oh wait, my 26-year-old friend just died, and my 40-year-old friend just died. Like I've had now I'm at a place where I think about it. Like there's a guy that used to come to our Bible studies who was in his mid-30s. He like slept and didn't wake up. By the way, very healthy guy, like really fit. I know another guy who got like this really rare cancer. My other friend that from my high school days ended up the brain death situation I was talking about. Recently, this is an individual that my brother and my friends were closer with than I was. Guy in his 40s, slept, didn't wake up. Like this is just a reality. None of us are actually immune to this. And I'm by the way, like I can take this conversation in a very religious sort, like, hey, you should be seriously thinking about these subjects. And because obviously Christianity's got opinions on it, but even just the ethical, like that's something we can all agree on to make correct decisions for us and our family members. Because, hey, we're not guaranteed. Anything can happen. I mean, one of the interesting things that I think came out of that whole COVID situation was people actually realizing, like, dude, this could just happen to any of us at any moment. And then you had like these like crazy extremist groups on all sides, like individuals who make their kids wear masks and play soccer, football for you. And I'm like, why are you guys still doing this? You're like triple vaccinated and 8 boosts, and your child is playing soccer, and even the government's come out and said X, Y, and Z on the subject, but you're not even hearing them because you're so terrified.
Right.
Like you're not even looking at the markers in regards to like, if you're young and healthy and athletic, this stuff's probably not going to affect you very much. You're just completely ignoring it, and you're just living in utter fear. Right. And then you're projecting that on your children. And children are very impressionable. Now they're afraid. They see someone without a mask and they're freaking out and they're like, wear a mask, you know, like, and like, we don't want kids making decisions for us. And then you get the other side who are like, this doesn't exist. It's all made up. And it's like, you're just an idiot. Like, that's just not true. Like I personally know people who died from COVID. I know doctors who are ER doctors who just regularly saw people dying from this. And then like there's a balanced view that comes out of this stuff, right? Like it's the situation where I see people wearing masks in their cars with their windows up and just driving. I don't know whether you see this in England or not. We see it in the United States.
No anymore.
And I'm just like, dude, why is that guy in his car alone wearing a mask? Like, what's the rationality here? How much fear do you have to be in to live like that? Right? And we're all going to make mistakes in all sorts of areas, but I don't want to turn into a
Yeah,
COVID conversation.
a
What
lot
I'm saying is like
of us. I don't know how you
pandemics
got
of that.
here.
Sorry, Jerome. Like pandemics of that sort, or whatever. Like anything that happens where we come face to face with our frailty of how like we're not like just nothing can move us. It's probably a good point in our lives to reflect back on it and think about it and say, hey, these things I've been ignoring a little bit in my life, maybe I should pay more attention to it. That's all I'm saying when it comes to the ethical conversations. Guys are having a debate in the
Yeah, I've kind of been seeing some of it.
That's okay. I'm glad you guys are participating in this conversation
Yeah.
with one another. Like, I appreciate that. Right? Like, dude, some of this stuff's really tough to think through. It really is. I know we started with the abortion subjects and kind of moved on, but
We don't want to go back there again, do we?
no. I mean, we moved on from it, but
Yeah, exactly.
like I can picture what maybe like with the advancement of technology, some of the things that we will be able to do. And some of it, like, what was it? I mentioned something about people making irrational decisions about euthanasia, right? Like, oh, my husband died and you're completely fine and healthy, but you want to die as well. So like one of the things that I've thought about, not too hard and long, and I've mentioned this, I think before, is, bio enhancements for the sake of, sort of like plastic surgery. So like you have a completely fine and healthy limb that you want to chop off and put a robotic one.
Oh,
I think that's something we're going to deal with within the next 20 years.
that is not what I thought you were going to say. But
And I'm not very optimistic, by the way. I don't think we're going to come up with good laws to handle this, because I think some celebrity is going to do it and everyone else is going to be like, oh, so-and-so did it. Why not? I don't much. I don't.
yeah,
I'm not very optimistic.
I'm not gonna bother speculating about that one. I have no idea.
Well, I know people who are doing like PhDs in this stuff.
Oh, okay.
Like in the ethics realm of like they see it coming, and what are we gonna do?
Oh, okay.
And like, but it's not that far removed in regards to the conversations we're having about transitioning. Right? Like there's a group of folks talking about transitioning and they're like, look, if you're an adult and you want to transition, who cares? But if you're 14 and 13 who wants to transition, you probably shouldn't, because you're not very stable to make that decision as a 13-year-old. We don't even respect you, and we don't even think very highly of you to allow you to drive a car or smoke cigarettes or drink alcohol, but we're going to make you make this decision. That this is a conversation that's happening. And I think it'll be the same conversation when it comes to bioenhancements in regards to limbs.
Yeah, I haven't even remotely thought of that. Wow.
There you go, man. That's what happens when you hang out with philosophers.
Which is a good thing, I guess.
Yeah, it is. It's scary, man. It really scary. Like part of the nerd in me goes, dude, like $1 Million Man, right? What do you do with athletes?
Oh.
Like imagine if Holland got like better
No.
because he's got like these robotic legs.
I mean, that would surely get banned. Surely, like I don't know, like that'd get auto banned on site. Like,
Yeah, you know. Oh,
yeah.
here's one that I remember thinking about because it was in the news about sports teams doing genetic research on like their academy players at a very young age. This actually had to do with football.
Oh.
And basically they wanted to do genetic research to see who was injury prone and whether they should invest in them for the next 12, 13 years.
Oh.
And I remember this was happening when Daniel Agger was completely getting injured every other week. And I was like, dude, that would have really sucked if Daniel Agger was like an 8-year-old and then a bunch of sports medicine guys went to him from...
Yeah, they found out early.
And they were like, you should forget about a career in football because you're just genetically, you're going to get injured a lot. Like that just messes up with the way that like even for kids to dream and to strive towards something, even if they don't make it, but the fact that they can dream and work hard towards it. It was such a crazy like ethical dilemma to think about and say, man, I would definitely not want that. Right? So yeah, lots of.
Wow, can't believe I've never like I hate the people who say this, but like now I'm actually thinking maybe technology has gone too far. Like unironically, I don't know like why I thought that for the first time ever. But, oh.
Yeah, see, it's always been the case, I think, with technology, where we come up with the tech, and then we go, oh, we shouldn't have done that. Let's come up with a bunch of laws. So that we wouldn't like misuse or even like think about the atomic bomb. It's like all these countries are working, right? Like Germany's trying to develop it, the United States is trying to develop it, Russia's trying to develop it, and I'm sure there were some other countries trying to develop it as well. And then they develop it, and then they use it, and they're like, crap. Yeah, we probably shouldn't have access to this stuff. Or there's some really crazy ones that shouldn't have access to this stuff, right? And so they come up with laws to somehow mitigate that and control it. I think this is just how we are as human beings. We're always going to come up with technology. A very easy one. I was actually talking to some people about the retreat I was at last week was a bunch of high schoolers, predominantly high schoolers. And one of the things they do is when you get there, every single student turns in their phone. So it all gets like put in a locker.
Hold on, where? At some school?
I was at a retreat. It was like a camp, like a summer camp.
Oh, okay, right.
And all the students were essentially required to turn in their phones. And then we were there as guests, and we were told even, hey, when you're out and about on the campgrounds, try not to have your phone out and using it. Just because you don't want like the kids kind of, like they wanted the kids to be interacting with each other. It was really cool actually saying like a bunch of teenagers who were like huddled together and playing games and just doing various things. And then we were speaking about this. Then we spoke about like, oh, now like you can literally put timers on your apps, at least with the iPhones, where it will just lock you out because you've spent too much time, like your screen time.
Yeah, like
it's like
parental controls, but for yourself. Yeah.
Correct. Like so, people go, hey man, like we realize kids are getting impacted by the likes they're getting, the subscriptions and the follows they're getting. Like this is impacting their psychology. And then even companies are saying, hey, maybe we should get rid of likes. I know Instagram was thinking about that. Like we want to care about the psyche of the people using our technology. Apple just released their, what's it called? That goggle thing. Do you see this?
No, where?
Oh man. So it's an AR headset. You folks, have you guys seen the AR headset that Apple just released? By the way, it's $3,600. I think base.
Of course it is.
Base is $3,600. And one of the things they did that was very interesting was like if somebody walks into the room when you're using it, because it's black, right? And it like it's tinted. The tint goes away and people can see your eye. Vision Pro, that's what it's called.
Yeah, no, I'm looking up now. Yeah.
So basically, when you're alone in the room and you're using it, it's just tinted. It's like sunglasses, really dark. And then if somebody comes and is talking to you, the tint goes away and they can see your eye. And that just said like what Apple's really concerned about, I guess. The tint doesn't go away. What do you mean? That's what I saw. Paul, let me know more about that. Or they can see your eyes. Don't tell me that's a projection on a screen. It's an LCD screen. On the outside. What the heck? Dude, whatever. Okay, so I'm still going to make my point because this is like terrifying now. What they want is like for you to still have that human contact. Like that people can see your eyes when they're talking to you. That's a selling point that they're coming at it. But they're also realizing like we don't want you to be like entirely isolated. So I was thinking like, so in it, so you can play a movie in it and just watch it and at any size that you want. You can put it in your living room, like, right? Like you can play whatever you want. You can make it a gigantic screen. And then you can have like a shared experience with it. So somebody can be sitting next to you with the device, you guys watching the same movie, but completely isolated within your own glasses. And like immediately my thought was, dude, like that's going to like impact what it's like watching a movie with like a friend.
Okay, that one actually sounds kind of cool though.
No, it does. It's cool because look, I'm a tech guy. Like I love technology, but I'm also thinking about like how children who use it quite a bit can become so isolated from one another. One of the issues we're seeing with young people is that they're isolated. They don't go outside. They don't hang out with their friends. Everything's over a screen. Everything's over like a thing, right? And I don't know. We're not designed like that, man. We're not designed to. Have you seen the movie Surrogate? No. I've seen the movie Gamer. That's a sort of terrifying movie.
That seems like it would be. That seems like it would be abortion related.
It's not.
That's just me.
Gamer?
It's not. No. Surrogate.
Oh,
Surrogate, the one.
maybe.
That sounds like it. I'm basing it off of one word, but oh well.
Oh, man, this has been
How
fun.
did we get here?
It's fun.
Interesting. Yeah.
It's been fun. How long have
It's
we been on?
20 to 1.
2 hours and 40 minutes.
Wait, hold on. So I didn't want to ask. Like, we're not going to go back to it, but the guy who has 11 kids. How,
Yes.
dude? How?
What do you mean?
Literally, how
Do
is
you want
how
me
is that
to? You want me
happening?
to give you the birds and bees talk? How babies are born?
No, but like that sounds like logistically like insane. Like, how is that
Look,
happening?
seeing his family grow and seeing him and the way they kind of run their family. By the way, they're all homeschooled.
They must be. They
Yeah.
must be. I mean, not just because of the interview that I watched, but like,
Yeah.
imagine sending like 11 of your kids to public school. That sounds long.
Yeah, but it's also like you realize kids become fairly independent at certain ages.
Yeah.
Arnold gave you the answer.
Wait, what did he say? Wait, I don't see.
He answered your how question.
Am I blind? Do you want to read it for me? I can't see it.
Arnold Dovtian. He wrote Sex, Jerome.
Oh, well, okay. Oh, there it is. Yeah, okay. Like,
Yeah, I don't think that's what Jerome was asking. But look, the thing is that children become fairly independent at a certain age. And so like when they're like 4 or 5, they get this certain kind of independence where they can like, maybe even younger, but like dress themselves and go pick out their clothing from their own, closets and like, just like, they wipe their own butts. These are very simple things that you as a parent teach your children. And they're cool. They know how to brush their teeth and take showers.
no, I'm just thinking of like...
You don't have to concern yourself. And that's what I'm saying, is that when you have a lot of kids, once they hit some of these ages, they become a help force for the younger ones.
Yeah,
And
no,
that's
I was
typically what
gonna
I've
say that.
seen.
I just thought about that.
That's what I've seen in this family. Like, I'm telling you, man, when his daughter was like 12, she actually went and got like a certification in babysitting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Play.
I actually left my child with her. And kid knew what she was doing. And
Okay,
I
I
always tell
actually
people
like
when
that.
she was 12, and I told her this, I said, I trust you with my kids more than I trust most 22-year-olds that I know. And so like in the house, you learn certain things, and there's always like you learn from the older ones. We were speaking about this with a buddy of mine about athletes, and I didn't know this, but so this is my friend saying this. So if somebody fact checks it and it's wrong, then it's his stats that's wrong, not mine. But we were talking about athletes, and he said they did some kind of a research that most athletes are the younger kids in the family, most professional athletes. Okay. And the ones that make it like to the top have an older sibling who like does well, but like not that well. But the younger ones always get the kind of better learning experience. And it was interesting because my youngest son just started playing soccer, and he's on a team with predominantly other kids who have older brothers who play soccer. And these kids are way more advanced than their siblings at their age. Like, for example, one of the things during practice yesterday, I realized that these 5-year-olds were actually talking to each other. Like, hey, pass the ball, I'm open. And talking about each other's names and going up to each other and being like, you need to pass the ball. And wow. And I was like, dude, like when my oldest son was 5, they were walking around picking their noses. They were not that active. And even like, especially communication wise, because that's very difficult to teach kids to communicate on the field.
Yeah, exactly.
100%. And these younger ones, they're like really good at doing it. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. They would have seen their older siblings doing it, and they've learned from them.
Exactly.
You know, so, it's kids learn in very interesting ways, and when they're a bit older, then they really help you. Mm. I know even my 9-year-old, like I tell him to do stuff, and he does it.
Mm. Now maybe I was a bit, I don't like it's. Maybe I was a bit presumptuous of the whole 11 kids thing. But that just seems like really weird from, like for somebody like me anyway, who like the largest like siblings that I've seen is like 5. So I don't know, like me seeing 11 is a bit nuts, but I guess I can see it, like if the house is big enough and the siblings are close enough and they learn from each other, I guess it could make sense, right? But it must be like very expensive.
What about like back home and stuff, like in regards to your ancestry? Because like I talk to a lot of like older Armenians, like grandparents, and they're all like, "Oh, I had 7, 8 siblings."
Yeah, not even close. Like my mom has she has 3 sisters, and I speak to them all. Grown up with them my whole life, right? And she even has like foster family, but that's not even like the same thing. They're not like born from the same parents, right? And my dad has a couple of siblings as well. Like they max out like 4 or 5. So like seeing like 11 is still like insane.
Well, like 11 is insane. That's a lot of kids. Yeah. Like 10 is a lot. I've seen 7. I remember in high school, there was a girl in our high school, and I think she had 9 brothers or 8 brothers. There's 9 of them. That was like, I remember that being like insane. I was like, dude, like, and there's 4 in my family. So I have 3 brothers, and I was still like, dude, you guys, like, that's double. That's more than double what we have in my home. But I think that's pretty up there in regards to when you get into double digits.
Yeah, I know that. What they do? Are they planning to just have more like after the 11? Because like
I'm not sure. I like it's like where, because I thought they were done. I thought 10 was it. They were done. But recently Jason put out an announcement and he was like, "Hey, we're having another baby."
The ranges between them must be like really, really small, because
they're about 2 years apart, all of them. Yeah. About a year and a half, 2 years apart.
That is insane.
See, there's logistics. There's logistics because they got married early. So they started having kids, and they've been having kids every 2 years for the past 20 years. Right. Where if you get married in your like late 20s, you're probably not going to end up having
you're not
kids.
Doing that. You're not even getting close.
You might have like 5, 6, but you're not hitting those numbers. So it has to do with when you get married. It has to do with how fertile you are. There's a number of like just biological markers that are gonna determine some of that.
No, that's fair enough.
Hey, let's call it a day.
Yeah, exactly.
I should
Fair
give
enough.
the announcement, but there isn't much people that have left in here. But I'll give. So I got a word in. That's the email I got and the text I got, that I'm gonna be on a pretty decently sized radio station.
Radio.
Yeah, on Thursday. So for those who are in the Los Angeles area, for who know a radio station called KKLA, this is a Christian radio station, KKLA 99.5. I'm going to be on Thursday. I'll put out time-wise, I think I'll be on minimum 20 minutes. And then we're going to be having a conversation about Armenians and the situation in Glendale and apologetics and Christianity. So it's going to be a number of different subjects. It's a pretty big deal, by the way. This is like rush hour traffic.
Yeah, you made it sound like that.
It's
earlier.
prime time. It is. It's prime time. It's prime
you kind
time.
of popped off a bit, but
Yeah, it's really cool. I'm excited. I like radio because you don't have to worry about the way you look. You don't want to shave for 18 years? Nobody's gonna know. And I've done radio. I mean, but not during this sort of a time period, the time slot.
right.
So excited for that. We've been in conversation for about a week, and then finally we got some hours squared away in regards to when we can go on. So what's the host's name? I think he's been out at the Glendale Abortion Mill with me. Interesting. The host's name is
Wait. I don't know what that is.
Abortion Clinic.
Oh, okay.
The host name is Scott. So for those who are familiar with this time slot, this is the time slot that Frank Pastore used to have. It's that, I think it's like 3 to 7 or 4 to 7 or 4 to 6, something like that.
That's huge.
So,
Okay.
yeah. Sorry,
Yeah,
Jerome, you
you
live in England, so you're not going to be able to.
Yeah, absolutely not. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's on the internet. It is. Thanks for calling in, man. It's been a pleasure,
Yeah.
as always.
Yeah. See you later.
Yep. So yeah, that was the exciting news I wanted to announce, and I'll probably record a little short and put that out there as I get more details coming in. But very excited about this. Kind of came out of nowhere. It's good. It's good for the ministry. It's good for this YouTube channel, and it is just good in regards to the sort of work that we're doing. So thank you guys for hanging in there and hanging out with us for the past 2 hours and 51 minutes. I will see you guys tomorrow night. Take care and God bless.